الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله وسلم على محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم. Inshallah, we continue with our inheritance class from the work of our Shaykh Al-Allama, Shaykh Salih bin Fawzan Al-Fawzan, may Allah preserve him, which is the book of inheritance. This is the chapter has to do with the missing person. Very important for us to know. So, inheritance of a missing person. So, how does a missing person get inheritance? The Shaykh said, the missing person means the one whose state is not defined, and it is not known whether alive or dead. This may be due to traveling, participating in a battle, being shipwrecked, or being captured by the enemies. So there are different possibilities. The person doesn't come back from a war. There is a possibility the person was killed in the war, or a shipwreck. There's a shipwreck. There's a possibility he drowned. So there are a number of possibilities. Or he went on a journey but he never came back, and things like that. The Shaykh said, since the missing person state is not determined as to whether being existing or not, each case of the two has its own ruling. Some of these rulings pertain to his wife, his inheritance from others, his inheritance from others, being inherited by others, being an effective heir on the share of other heirs, because he could be a very effective heir. So there are different scenarios. The Shaykh said, as neither of the two possibilities, being alive or dead, is considered more probable than the other, because we don't know whether the person is alive or dead. We don't know. We can't say for sure. Then there must be a designated period until the real state of the missing person is verified, providing a chance to look for him. If that period elapses with nothing known about such a person, this will be evidence that he is no longer alive. Like, for example, they looked for him, he was missing in the mountains, they looked and looked and looked and looked until they could no longer look anymore. They lost hope in that person. There is a possibility the person is dead. طيب. Now, the Shaykh said, Hafidahullah Ta'ala, this will be an evidence that he is no longer alive. In view of this, scholars unanimously have agreed to designate such a period, yet there is disagreement regarding how long it should be according to two opinions. So now, how long is too long? Scholars have differed on this. We have two opinions here. First opinion, the criterion is the estimation of the judge according to this period. So the first opinion, they say the judge. The judge is the one who estimates. He estimates the period. If the judge said 4 months, then we go by 4 months. This is because the original rule is that the missing person is alive. This is what the original rule, and unless there is an evidence that he is not. Like, for example, the water. The original rule, the water is pure. So you can use it for wudu, you can make ghusl with it, you can drink from it and the like, unless we have an evidence that says otherwise. But the original rule, the water is pure, alhamdulillah. The original rule, you're still married, unless you have an evidence that says otherwise. This is very important for us to know. The Shaykh, he said, Hafidahullah Ta'ala, because the original rule is that the missing person is alive. And this is not to be overlooked except with a decisive proof. Or the like, unless we have a decisive proof that this person is not alive. This opinion is unanimously adopted by the majority of the Muslim scholars, whether such a missing person is expected to be safe or deceased, and whether he has been lost before or after the age of 90. Thus, a missing person is to be expected to come back until there is a proof that he has died, or that a period ends after which it becomes certain that he has died. That's the first opinion, and this is the opinion of the majority of the ulama, the majority of the scholars. Second opinion, this opinion adopts an elaborated view, which implies that the missing person has two cases. The first case, if the missing person is most likely to be deceased, it is imperative to wait for 4 years since he was last seen. To elaborate, persons such as those who go missing in a peril, means in a dangerous place, while fighting, or in a shipwreckage, of which some passengers were safe while others drowned, and persons who are lost within the locality. For example, going out for prayer, never came back. We include in this those who have Alzheimer, because they can't remember where they are. So they can get lost easy. So they go out, you never see them again. Some of them, they even get killed. Wa'iyadu billah. Subhanallah. So, for example, going out for prayer and never came back, are to be expected back for a 4-year period since they were last seen. If no news about a missing person is heard throughout this period, he is surely deemed to be dead. So this opinion, it says, we have the first case. If we don't see this person 4 years from the time we saw him last, then he is presumed to be dead. Second, if the missing person is most likely to be safe and sound, example, those who travel for trade, tourism, or learning, and nothing is heard about them, it is imperative to wait until such a person reaches 90, means 90 years old, since his birth, until it is not likely for him to be living anymore, before declaring his death. The first opinion, referring to the estimation of the judge, is deciding the period to wait for a missing person to come back before declaring his death, is the preponderant, means the most likely to be correct opinion. When they say preponderant, means the most correct of the two opinions. So the first opinion, which is the majority of the ulama, we go by the ruling of the judge. For such a period varies according to time, state, and persons. And it is true. It is very true. This is because communications and transport means have made the whole world much closer, quite unlike the past, right or wrong. Because today, everything is like, subhanallah, the world is small. The world is small. You can talk to somebody in China. You're here in the US. You can talk to someone in Australia, 14 hours difference between you and him. And you can talk to him. And many times I spoke to people from that continent. And you feel like he's next to you. Subhanallah. He's talking to you. You can see him, he can see you. If he calls you video or he calls you audio, you can hear his voice as if he's sitting next to you. Unlike the past, it was very difficult in the past. If the person from whom the missing one inherits dies within the said designated waiting period, if the inherited person has no other heirs except the missing person, all his estate is to be withheld, and it is clear whether the missing person is alive or dead, or the designated waiting period is over. Scholars maintain different views concerning the issue of the inherited person who has heirs other than the missing person. The soundest view is the opinion of the majority of the scholars, that is, the heirs who co-inherit with the missing person are given the least possible share. Understand? Okay, now if that missing person is not back yet, but there are co-inheritors with him. Co-inheritors meaning that they will be inheriting with him. Okay? They will be inheriting with him. Like his brothers, his sisters, and the like, they're going to inherit with him. So we give them the least, because we don't know. The person may show up all of a sudden. You see? So we give them the least amount. And this is the safest way to do it. Thus, each heir is to be given his or her least amount, while the remainder is to be withheld. Hence, the estate is to be divided as if the missing person is alive. Now, then as dead, the heirs who is entitled to a bigger share is one of the two cases, i.e. the missing persons being alive or dead, is to be given the least share. The heir is entitled to an equal share in both cases, will be given his or her share in full, and heir who inherits only in one of the two cases will be given nothing. The remainder of the estate will be withheld until the missing person's state is verified. So basically, we use caution because we don't know. That person may show up all of a sudden. It happened. Some people, they were missing and they thought they were presumed dead. They even announced that the person is dead, and they did Salat al-Janaza on him, Salat al-Ghaib, of the absentee. And then suddenly the person showed up. Subhanallah. Yeah, happened. It happened. If the missing person is deemed dead, the missing person is deemed dead if the designated waiting period has passed with no evidence disclosing his status. So that we don't have any evidence says this person is in place so and so and the like. Thus his own estate and share which he or she has inherited, as mentioned in the previous case, are to be divided among his heir. Like, for example, if he has children, or if he doesn't have children, his brothers will inherit from him. Or if he has sisters, they will inherit from him, or the like. If he is presumed dead. طيب. The Shaykh, he said, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, as mentioned in the previous case, are to be divided among the heirs who are still alive, excluding those who died during the designated waiting period. Those, they don't get anything. They don't get anything. This is because his death was determined later, after the death of his heirs. Now, for example, if someone dies before the person that he's going to inherit from, then he doesn't get anything. For example, the son dies before his father. The son dies before his father. He doesn't get anything. It has to be after the father dies. You see? طيب. The Shaykh said, excluding those who died during the designated waiting period. That is because his death was determined later, after the death of his heirs, who are not then entitled to inherit. So this is the end of this chapter. So basically, the Shaykh, he said there are two opinions among the scholars when it comes to the missing person. So the majority of the scholars, they are of the opinion that this matter is going to be decided by the judge, the Muslim judge. So he's the one, because things, vary from one situation to the next. So the judge is the one who looks into the matter, and he will decide how long is the period. So during that period, what do? We use caution. So if this missing person has co-inheritors, there are some who will inherit with him. So we give them the least amount, because we don't know that the person who is presumed dead might show up all of a sudden. So we have to give him his share of inheritance. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us all al-ilm al-nafi' wal-amal al-salih. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Jazakum Allah khair.
Is there a salat al-janazah performed on someone who's missing?
Yes. It's called Salat al-Ghaib, the Salat al-Janazah of the absentee.
And is there a period for that?
Yeah, like after that period, the judge who will decide the period.
Okay.
After that period, if he does not show up, then we can perform Salat al-Janazah on him.
So the judge would be the one deciding?
Yes, to determine, yes.
Jazakallah.
وإياكم أخي.